It's 10 p.m. in Banjul, and this is the news for the headlines. Vice President Dr. Aissatou Njie Seydi graces the maiden edition of the Armed Forces Marathon Championship staged under the aegis of the Commander-in-Chief. First Lady Madam Zainab Yahya Jammeh donates neonatal equipment worth over $2 million to Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital. Minister Pa Usman Jaja qualifies landmark, the climate change deal claimed by close to 200 countries in Paris as a remarkable success. Russia's finance minister warns of torrid times ahead as falling crude oil prices and Western sanctions hit the Russian economy hard. And tuberculosis makes a dramatic comeback in the United Kingdom, seemingly catching health experts off guard. That and a lot more coming ahead in the next 60 minutes. I am your presenter, FATOUMATA NDURE JOBE. U.S. President Barack Obama, his spouse Michelle Obama, and their children have sent season's greetings to the President, His Excellency Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya AJJ Jammeh Babili Mansa, and the text reads, the rest, Her Excellency the First Lady Madam Zainab Yahya Jammeh and the rest of the First Family, and the text on the card reads, with gratitude and cheer, we send our warmest wishes for health and happiness this holiday season. It ends. Cadre Desire Quadrago, President of the ECOWAS Commission, has sent a goodwill message to the President, and the text reads, Your Excellency, as the new year approaches, I am delighted to extend to you, on behalf of the heads of ECOWAS institutions, our sincere wishes for good health, personal happiness, and great success in the performance of your noble task for the progress and harmonious development of the Gambian people. I wish to seize this opportunity to express to you my deepest pride at the manner in which the Gambia, under your able leadership, contributes to ongoing community projects. While renewing my wishes for a happy and prosperous new year, please accept, Your Excellency, the assurances of my highest consideration. The message concludes. The country's main referral hospital on Wednesday received an assortment of neonatal equipment worth $2.2 million from the First Lady, Her Excellency Madam Zainab Yahya Jammeh. The equipment were presented by the Vice President and Women's Affairs Minister on behalf of Madam Jammeh. Details in this report by Umijai.
It could be recalled that shortly after the launching of the project dubbed Operation Save the Children Foundation, Her Excellency the First Lady donated a sum of $4.5 million to the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, earmarked for the renovation of the neonatal and pediatric wards of the hospital. And again, the First Lady has procured neonatal equipment worth $2.2 million for the country's main referral hospital. The presented items, which include infant warmers, incubators, and nebulizers, among others, are believed to be very vital in the function of the neonatal unit, where babies with different sicknesses are treated. The Executive Director of Operation Save the Children Foundation conveyed First Lady's message of proper upkeep of the vital items to the beneficiary hospital.
Her Excellency the First Lady would like us to again buttress the need for the hospital to train the current maintenance team in biomedical equipment maintenance. Maintenance is very important. Routine checks of the equipment is important. Regular cleaning of the equipment is very important. So it's very, very important that these equipment are maintained the way they should be maintained, because they're quite sophisticated, they're very advanced, and they were ordered by the hospital management. We are very particular and concerned. And the ICU of the neonatal ward should remain an ICU.
Officials from the beneficiary hospital took turns to thank First Lady Jammeh for the much-needed neonatal equipment.
On behalf of the management, we are promised to carry out this equipment and take care about the maintenance, regular maintenance of that. This is a very good step in the hospital to have an intensive care, pediatric intensive care unit in the hospital will help us to save children and decrease the mortality rate of them. Thank you very much.
These equipments are going really to help us. As you say, we are going to support also the maintenance. We already talked with our bioengineers, the ones who are really specialized in the area, They are going to support the maintenance frequently.
Minister Fai buttressed on First Lady's keen interest on the well-being of children, citing her many interventions towards that direction.
This is very timely, and I want to use the opportunity to thank Her Excellency, the First Lady of the Republic, who is very passionate about the welfare of the women and the children of this country. It is her interest in the welfare of the children particularly that made her thought of establishing a foundation to support the cause of children in terms of their health, in terms of their education and welfare in general.
The health minister acknowledged that Gambians are in the verge of getting fully trained personnel on medical engineering, and with that, the neonate equipment can be properly maintained.
Currently, we have some doctors who are doing specialist training, Gambian doctors, who are sponsored by government in the sub-region, and they'll be finishing hopefully by next year also. We have a Gambian who is training in pediatric surgery, and then we are having support from Office of the First Lady.
The Vice President, while handing over the items to the beneficiary, thanked First Lady Madam Zainab Jammeh for her continuous support to the health facility, but quickly advised the beneficiaries for the proper maintenance of the items.
Government under His Excellency the President has done a lot. I don't have to belabor the point. We all know today where we are and where we were before 1994 in terms of decentralization of health facilities, in terms of health reaching the doorstep of every Gambian. But coming to Her Excellency the First Lady, we all know, even when she had Operation Save the Baby, we know, previous to this program there was Operation Save the Baby. And she's been providing incubators, she's been providing assistance to the children's ward, we all remember, the neonatal ward as well among them, and of course the maternity ward. And she's been assisting all the tertiary institutions, health institutions in this country, especially during the first baby of the year and even before then. But today, with the setting up of the Operation Save the Children Foundation, she's even done more. You can see. She's action-oriented. We all remember when she gave resources to the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital to build the facility out there. We remembered. And that was all to ensure standard facilities for the children.
These much-needed equipment donated to the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital are expected to go a long way in addressing neonatal cases. Minjai, GRTS.
The Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs, Dr. Aissatou Njie Saidi, on Wednesday presided over the maiden edition of the Armed Forces Marathon Championship, organized under the auspices of the President, His Excellency, Chair Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya AJJ Jammeh Babili Mansa. We hope to bring you more on the championship, seeking to, among other things, enhance the health of participants, guarantee physical well-being and camaraderie among members of the armed and security forces in due course. Meanwhile, there are indicators the Gambia will soon knock off the more than 1,000 tons of rice it imports annually. The Central River region in particular has the potential to supply enough rice for local consumption. Ibrahim Balde was at the Vision 2016 fields, and he reports on how work is faring ahead of the new year.
As far as consolidation and solidification are concerned, 2016 promises to usher in newer and fresher challenges. Since May 2014, when these vast hectares of land were formally demarcated thanks to President Jammeh Babili Mansa's food self-sufficiency initiative. Over the past months, volunteers from far and near have responded to the call to help at President Jammeh Babili Mansa's rice fields in the Central River region. Being the country's main staple food, government imports a staggering 144,000 tons of rice annually. Working on several agricultural methods, the system is made in such a way that it allows the planting of all types of plants. Even though rice is the predominant crop here, there are even indications that the heavy import of rice could be knocked off on real time.
Here in Pachar fields here, what we are doing is we are calculating the amount of rice, that's the number of tons imported annually and then used for consumption in our country. We multiply now. What we are doing here today is we are expanding our fields so as to enable us we already had the confidence that we've already achieved what we are looking for, but in making sure we are completely sealed off what we're calling for.
From nursery to fields, work is always high on the agenda for the volunteers and personnel tasked with the responsibility of running the fields. Major C.D. Balde gives us insight into the new operational strategy for the new year.
We are expanding our fields. One, the fields to meet the target. For instance, for the fields to be able to produce 140,000 tons per 3 months. In 3 months, for the dry season, you produce and you are able to have, for instance, 70,000 tons. The following 3 months, we are entering in the rains, you are able to have 70,000 or above. Already, you have, within 6 months, you have covered annually imported tons of rice coming into our country.
We can make it up because the present yield that we are having, for example, if we are able to maintain at least 4 to 5 tons per hectare with our area of coverage, that what we intend to cover, we will be able to make it up. Yes, because 4 to 5 tons per hectare with double cropping, of course, we'll be able to make it up.
Contrary to what the general public perceive, the Vision 2016 fields in Pachar are all encompassing, which means that the farm manager is pleased with the idea of accommodating and using the fields as incubating machines to feed the masses. Well, as far as the eyes can see, here at the Vision 2016 fields in Pachar, there is no let up to activities taking place here. Almost on a daily basis, large teams of volunteers stream into the Vision 2016 field to take part in harvesting or planting. In this case, we've seen the bulldozers who have been deployed here to enable the volunteers have access to huge swathes of land that have not been cultivated. This is all part of the expansion project as far as food self-sufficiency is concerned here at the Vision 2016 fields. Ibrahim Balde reporting for Grts News.
During celebrations marking the 21st anniversary of the glorious July 22nd revolution, the head of state granted an unprecedented pardon to hundreds of convicts serving time for various serious offenses, some of which are punishable by death. That decision strengthened the Gambia's credentials as a tolerant society. Louis Mendy refreshes our memory on that.
2015, when the APRC government and Gambians were busy reflecting on the development-oriented revolution and its achievement after 21 years of democratic rule, the unexpected happened as President Jammeh granted amnesty to hundreds of inmates. The ex-convicts were victims of capital and minor offenses ranging from treason, economic crimes, murder, drug trafficking, and abuse of public office, and would have served capital punishment of death, life imprisonment, and maximum jail terms.
We are witnessing another batch of 9. Before the 227 were released, in the same month, 85 people were also released in observance of the holy month of Ramadan. I think this can only be done by somebody who has love for humanity, by somebody who fears the Almighty Allah, and by somebody who believes in the teaching of the Holy Quran.
The presidential clemency was not only a pleasant surprise to the ex-convicts, family and friends, but applauded by many far and near. Overwhelmed with joy and consumed by an unexpected surprise, family and friends of the ex-convict could only break down in tears, but these were tears of joy. For the ex-convicts, only God could interpret their thoughts, though one thing was obvious: their gratitude to President Jammeh.
His Excellency, the President, has demonstrated his big-heartedness to not only our families, but to the nation and the world at large. And it has made a very special day, which is a day of joy for us, our families, the nation, and the world at large. So this shows how godly and sympathetic and development-oriented he is. So we do not have any other thing other than to say thank you very much, and a very big thank you very much on our behalf and our families and the nation at large, and all our loved ones. Thank you very much.
I have to thank His Excellency the President of the Republic of the Gambia, Professor Dr. Alhaji A.J. Babili Mansa, that we are very much grateful to him, and we are praying to Allah to guide him and protect him and make Vision 2016 to be a success. And we are urging all the Gambia people to rally behind the President and give him the maximum support for the development of the nation.
Some of the non-Gambians pardoned for their crimes confess that President Jammeh's type is rare, as they wouldn't be granted amnesty in their own country if they committed similar crime.
My message is to the President, God is the first, and whatever he have done so much that is unbelievable. Nobody could do that for us. I'm speaking specific for myself. He done too much. I wish he be there till the end of time. That's all I can say, because nobody could do. Where we were there, you're in the claw of the lion. So to free you from there, you must be a real Nike, and he is a real Nike.
To tell the nation that they have the greatest leader can ever be, that only somebody with the kind of mercy in his heart can do what he has done today. I want to appreciate and to praise His Excellency the President to be so merciful, and I wish him to God continue showering his blessings to him, his family, and whole the entire land of the Gambia.
And as a man of compassion, Honorable Sonko said President Jammeh's gesture was typical of him.
Because the day His Excellency the President was making this pronouncement, the way he started his statement was by saying whenever he reads the Quran, every page he turns, he finds the word forgiveness. And since the Almighty Allah can forgive, the Holy Prophets forgive, who is he not to forgive human beings? That statement alone is touching, and it goes to show the type of leadership that we have.
This solidarity march, organized by the ex-convicts days after their release, was a platform to further express their appreciation to the Gambian leader for his show of mercy.
The Minister of the Environment, Parks and Wildlife, Water Resources and Climate Change has said that the recent climate change day reached by dozens of nations in Paris is monumental. Pa Usman Jaju was speaking to GRTS's Francis Mendy, and here are the excerpts.
For the first time, 195 countries agreed to take global action towards the fight against climate change. And I must commend the Gambian team for their dedication, and first of all starting with our mission in Paris, led by Mrs. Adele Sok and Mr. Yaya Matar Job, who really made us felt at home. They facilitated our settlement and ensured that we participated very well. We had my colleague Minister of Youth and Sports, who also came to preside over a youth side event which was very important to Africa. And we were also joined by our two ambassadors in Brussels, Mrs. Tenemba Jaite and Mr. Tangara, who also came all the way from New York. This was an agreement that took into account the failure or the inadequacies of the Kyoto Protocol. In Kyoto, which was a top-down approach, only the developed countries were taxed to reduce their emissions, and we negotiated for a second commitment period of the Kyoto Protocol. And the parties that agreed for a second commitment period of the Kyoto Protocol represented only 16% of global emissions. And we felt that we have to listen to the science, which is telling us that if we don't take adequate steps we are leading to a frying pan. That is 4 degrees. Globally, it's going to be more than 5.5 degrees for Africa. So we started this process of the Paris Agreement in Durban, where, of course, after the Copenhagen failure, we all realized that we still have to join forces to combat climate change.
What actually does the agreement entail?
Thank you. The agreement entails a lot. First of all, it recognizes the challenge of climate change. It also recognizes the fact that what we are doing is inadequate, and we need to go beyond the current efforts. And that's why in the preambular part and in the first article of the agreement, Article 2 in particular, mentioned the need for us to reduce emissions so that we can go well below. In Cancun, we agreed on below 2 degrees. But now we are saying well below 2 degrees and pursuing a path towards below 1.5 degrees pre-industrial level. Because that is what is going to save us, and that is what is going to save most vulnerable countries. Because we've realized that from the science, 2 degrees is still not adequate for island countries. It has also given us the avenue, the opportunity for a differentiation that is not non-Annex 1, Annex 1, developed country, developing country line. Next year, in May, there will be a meeting, and even prior to May, what is going to happen is that in April, the UN General Assembly is going to meet between the 11th and 14th of April to look at the Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris outcome, to have those discussions. And on the 22nd of April, there would be a signature of the Paris Agreement. So all governments would be represented there to sign this agreement. It would be signed. After the signature, all countries would now go through their parliaments, go through a national ratification process for it to be effective. So this is what we would have to take. Of course, the developed countries in terms of the G7 would also meet in May in Japan to discuss the implications of this, because they are going to provide finance and technology. We have agreed that there is a floor of $100 billion. They've already committed to $100 billion by 2020. They have also agreed that post 2020, the floor would be 100 billion. So it will be 100 billion and above for up to 2025. And by 2025, we would discuss how everybody would now come on board, because the basket for finance is going to be opened up.
And I believe the Gambia has also been implementing a number of programs, interventions, and maybe projects, all geared towards maybe limiting the impact of climate change on the citizenry. And I believe those interventions cut across a number of sectors. How well are they doing?
At the moment, they are doing well. We have the Coastal Protection Project, which is not only going to address the coastal erosion, but it is also addressing livelihood components across the country. And we have cross-sectoral agriculture, fisheries projects in the country. We have the early warning project, which is really strengthening the capacity of the Department of Water Resources in both meteorology and hydrology and providing information. The second phase is taking off, which is going to support all the other sectors. We have also submitted to the Green Climate Fund $20 million project this month, which is going to be reviewed in March, hopefully. And we are also working with, that is through UNEP. We are working with UNDP to finalize another proposal to the Green Climate Fund. Hopefully that would be around $30 million. so that at least in the coming years we can also boast of accessing to the tune of 100 billion. That's our target. In the next 5 years, we want to see how we can access more in addition to the resources that we are getting from the JEF.
Minister Pa Usman Jaju there talking to JRTS's Francis Mendy. Meanwhile, experts and representatives of stakeholder institutions have started the process of reviewing the National Habitat Report. Participants at the two-day forum called by the Ministry of Lands and Regional Government are also expected to validate findings contained in the document. Ibrahim Ajalo reports on that.
The exercise follows a comprehensive survey on the country's urban settlements, commissioned in line with the United Nations World Urban Agenda 2016. In his address, the representative of UN Habitat, Dudu Mbai, dilated on the importance of evidence-based data to the National Habitat Report. Mbai said the UN Habitat Agency convenes a summit on the subject every 20 years, adding the next one would take place in September 2016 in Ecuador.
Safety and security is part of urban planning. I want you to take note of that. Public spaces. You don't just build, densify a neighborhood without providing community centers, providing schools, playgrounds, streets that are wide enough. Please take note and provide for the cyclists, provide for the motorbikers. They are all part and parcel of the population. Most of the time, we plan just for vehicular traffic.
The Minister of Lands and Regional Government, Mamadou Akibayo, underscored government's commitment to the setting of standards, especially in planning and designing of urban settlements, citing numerous calamities linked to climate change.
The development of Habitat 3 in the Gambia, Habitat 3 report in the Gambia adopted a national dimension with inclusive engagement of all those working in the field of sustainable urbanization and human settlements. In an effort to build national ownership to the outcome of the assignment, a mixed method of bottom-up and top-down approaches were adopted.
Minister Bayo added that the document would provide appropriate data on the country's urban habitat that could be used to determine new measures for urban settlements in the country.
As you may be aware, currently 2 billion people live in urban regions in the developing world, of which the Gambia is part. The rapid urban growth in these countries suggests that the problems associated with slum dwelling, such as access to adequate and safe water and sanitation, sufficient and secure living areas, affect primarily those who are already the most vulnerable.
The demand for shelter in urban settlements is becoming increasingly high due to population density and rural-urban migration, which cause a lot of stress on towns and cities in the form of overcrowding, traffic congestion, among others. The National Habitat 3 report, according to sources, covers metropolitan settlements, including provincial towns such as Soma and Frafenye. Ibrahim Jallo, GRTS News.
A two-day capacity enhancement effort jointly put together by the Department of Information Services and UNICEF has drawn to a close. The forum that attracted journalists from the print and electronic media looked at reporting on children, especially those in sensitive circumstances. Etienne Silva picks up the rest of that story.
Organized by the Department of Information Services in collaboration with UNICEF has ended. The gathering was aimed at actively involving journalists in national advocacy efforts through media visibility of the situation of children and women in the Gambia.
It has been a very wonderful 2 days, very educative. I think you will agree with me. It has been resourceful. It wasn't easy, but at the end of the day, every journey must come to an end. So I think what I would do is, in the first place, to thank our partners, UNICEF, for financing such a very important initiative. They've been a very, very important partner for the Department of Information Services. They've funded a lot of our programs, and they've always manifested commitment to our endeavors. And I think our partnership is commendable in a sense that we have a concerted effort and a shared passion and responsibility for the protection of our children.
Ibrahim Njai, Deputy Director, Department of Information Services, described the event as a success. He also thanked the participants for their keen participation and further paid tribute to the leadership of the country for the peace and stability Gambians are enjoying. Njai expressed hope that lessons learned will be put into good use.
Back to the issue at hand, which is the training. I think today marks a very important day. As I said the other day, everything has a beginning. The beginning was important, but the ending is more important to me, because it's a period or it's a time that we have been enriched with a lot of knowledge on issues relating to reporting on children and other protocols and on children and women. I have no doubt that after here, you will all go back to your various institutions to report and promote the interests of children and women.
GRTS's FATOUMATA Sisi gave the vote of thanks on behalf of her participating colleagues. She noted that a lot has been learned by them.
We managed to gather so much relevant information during the course of this two-day forum. And as we speak now, on behalf of my colleagues, I would like to inform the organizers as well that we are already equipped with the most requisite skills and knowledge with regards to the UNCRCs and on the professionalism in reporting on children's issues. And this will go a long way in enhancing our job at our various media houses. And I will not go on without thanking you also, the participants, for taking time to participate in this two-day forum.
It was a rigorous two-day synergy that was attended by over 25 media practitioners from various media outlets in the country. It is hoped that the lessons garnered will be translated into fair and objective stories that will augur well for women and children. Achan Silva, GRTS News.
We will be back with news from outside the Gambia after this break. Stay tuned.
Joli Bakuyate and the Kumari Band, Woolening album Fulanata, Jamfa Jankano, Kumogasia, Anita Nyoya, the King of Kora, Ako 2016, I Woolenati Badingol Ninteri Kanunteli, Grand launching tea, Sibito, Tubabo Karo, Atili Kononto, January Karo 2016, Bakau Independent Stadium, tickets $350 drong, you will Nyilinka, Cabo America, Europe, Sweden, Holland, France, Senegal, but Guinea-Bissau fananko mote tulakoma. Otumbading Gambian call, Jamfa Jankano, Anintanyoya. Guest artist, Wolmu Jamalade, Wolum Yusufangom Jolof Manti, Female Artists Association, Kucha from Senegal, TFM, Afana Nyala Delegation Ol Binalale, Kana Mabe Nyimbenkumato. Sponsors, Banjul Breweries Limited, Yuki Family, Wolle Bejaliba Dandana, Nilungal.
Welcome back. Apart from its trade wars, Russia is also battling low oil prices. All the reasons for the warning from the finance minister. He says 2016 is going to be a difficult year for the recession-hit economy, and as a result, Russians are suffering right at the time of the year when everyone else is meant to be celebrating. We have more in this DWTV report. That story will come later on in the news. Meanwhile, a deadly disease is resurging at an alarming rate in the United Kingdom. Tuberculosis, or TB, was the leading cause of death in the Victorian era. CNN's Max Foster reports on what scientists are doing to stop it today.
Is nearing the end of intensive treatment for TB. She's studying for a master's degree, but a year ago was isolated in hospital.
I contracted tuberculosis from my boyfriend. He caught TB from his friend. His friend contracted tuberculosis from his dad, and his dad first was diagnosed with TB in the 90s after traveling to India, and then it basically re-emerged again as a drug-resistant form of the disease. Up until this point, I wasn't able to work, I wasn't able to kind of socialize, I wasn't able to kind of live a normal life.
TB is one disease often synonymous with poverty, affecting the most vulnerable. But health officials warn that strains of the disease lie undetected in all parts of modern society and could break out in the future.
The bacterial tuberculosis can infect you and stay in your body latent for a long time, and it becomes reawakened again and manifests itself as a disease when something happens to your immune level.
Tuberculosis was one of the deadliest diseases in the Victorian era, killing 1 in 4 people at one point, and thousands of victims are buried here at this cemetery. Of course, the situation isn't as bad. The situation isn't as bad. The situation isn't as bad. The situation is in
Europe is saying a stormy goodbye to 2015, thanks largely to an extreme weather front in the North Atlantic. A surge of warm airflow from the west has created a massive low-pressure system, bringing high winds and heavy rains that could prove disastrous for the British Isles, where large areas of northern England are already underwater. We have more in this DWTV report.
Storm Frank has been battering the British Isles. These amateur pictures show the high seas and gale-force winds at dawn in Ireland on Wednesday. The turbulent weather spells bad news for England too. As Frank loomed, parts of North Yorkshire were already underwater, stretching as far as the eye could see. Worst hit, the historic city of York and its surrounding area. Some residents here are angry at the British government, blaming budget cuts for the extent of the damage. They say flood defences were inadequate and local authorities ill-prepared.
The alarm's not on, that's all right. Come in. We weren't here, but according to our neighbours, there was no one came down the street to say this is a real emergency. There was no sirens, there was no tannoy or anything, or you know, the Prime Minister said how marvellous the rescue services were. We speak to people and they say yes, they did their job. But politicians are using this "aren't our soldiers wonderful" to deflect the fact that they made funding decisions which have led to these areas they're hiding as ever.
In York, many houses had been evacuated over the Christmas period after the flooding rose to waist deep in some streets. The water has subsided slightly, but forecasters said Storm Frank's arrival would worsen the situation. In nearby Tadcaster, an almost 300-year-old bridge was swept away overnight. The worst seems not yet to be over for the inundated region.
Back to our previous story on Russia. Apart from its trade wars, Russia is also battling low oil prices. All reasons for the warning from the finance minister. He says 2016 is going to be a difficult year for the recession-hit economy, and as a result, Russians are suffering right at the time of the year when everyone is meant to be celebrating. We have more in this DWTV report.
It's not New Year's without a salad olivier, a simple dish made of chicken, potatoes, and mayonnaise. But this year, the traditional feast has become a symbol of recession. According to Russian officials, the salad will cost 35% more to prepare due to soaring food prices. The ruble has fallen some 20% against the dollar this year, pushing up the price of imports. And a Russian ban on Western food imports has further hurt supply. Instead of choosing between a wide variety of luxury goods, many people in Moscow are cutting back on holiday spending this year. We used to buy jewelry or expensive perfume for the new year, but now it's just the bare minimum. We're mostly spending on the celebration itself, because it's still the new year. Prices are going up faster than wages, so of course you have to try to save. I've had to cut down on clothes. I'd like to pay for after-school classes for my children, but I can't afford it now. The recession is taking a bite out of the holiday feast in Russia this year, but people are hoping for a turnaround in 2016.
We take our second break now. Weather is next. Stay tuned.
Sounds promotion so bunyo ote mu neex bunyo defé mu saf sap gudi long time no sigi gudi begalen bagen bek gudi sans dem ba jeex gudi ndanen deug terulen teralen Tangalen, Teddy Penchami Hall, Paradise Suites Hotel, Upmarket, New Year's Eve Gala Buffet Dinner, Andaktitibu Bes, Fenta you Bes, Manier you Bes, Lakagu Bes, If you S, Chatbu Bes, Titi Live under Walker Baribagas Dilen Mas, First the love feeling under Chocho, Damane, Bulenko Kennetalil, Lima program be New Year's Eve, on the 1st of January, New Year's Day, super grand dance at Penchami Hall, entrance fee $500, VIP $700. 2nd January, Wabirkama, Paralen, Deradu said, Lepa Yungusa Joko Birkama, Titigagien, fast at fast, Defam Miti, entrance fee $300 flat. Happy New Year to you all.
It is now time for the weather report from the Central Forecast Office.
The Gambia is endowed with a wonderful landscape full of baobab trees. Like its Cape Point in Bakau, it is one of the most exotic sceneries in the world. The baobab tree is a symbol of resilience, wisdom, and resourcefulness. For the baobab tree provides good food in times of hunger, rents its bark for medications, and its sap for glue. In the Gambia, there is a company like the baobab tree, 100% African and purely Gambian in all aspects. In know-how, design, value, capital, and management. That company is Elton. Elton, employing hundreds of Gambians and proudly associating itself with development in the Gambia. Elton, side by side with the Gambia.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the weather forecast. The entire country was partly cloudy, relatively cool and slightly hazy during the past 24 hours. And for the satellite image shows convective clouds over the southern part of Africa, while medium clouds over the Senegambia region. Tonight the weather is expected to be variably cloudy and cool over the western half of the country, becoming cloudy with slight intermittent rain over the eastern half of the country. And for the day tomorrow, the weather is expected to be variably cloudy, cool and dry in the morning, becoming relatively warm and slightly hazy in the afternoon. Surface winds will mainly be northeasterly in direction and the speed will vary between 10 and 15 kilometers per hour. Minimum temperatures across the country will be 18 degrees over the Greater Banjul, 17 over Lower River, 16 over Central and 15 over North Bank, West Coast and Upper River region. And for the maximum temperatures will be 30 degrees over the Greater Banjul, 28 over West Coast, 29 over North Bank, 32 over Lower River, while 31 over Central and Upper River region. Low tide will be 0.4 meters at 7 a.m. and 0.5 meters at 7 p.m. High tide will be 1.7 meters at 1 a.m. and 1.4 meters at 2 p.m. Wave will be 1 to 2 meters northwesterly swells. The sun will rise at 28 minutes after 7 in the morning and set at 30 minutes to 7 in the evening. That's the forecast and good night.
And before we take leave of you, a recap of the day's main stories. Vice President Dr. Aissat Njai Saidi has graced the maiden edition of the Armed Forces Marathon Championship, staged under the aegis of the Commander-in-Chief. First Lady Madam Zainab Yahya Jammeh has donated neonatal equipment worth over $2 million to the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital. Minister Pa Usman Jajo has qualified the landmark climate change deal clinched by close to 200 countries in Paris as a remarkable success. Russia's finance minister is warning of torrid times ahead as falling crude oil prices and Western sanctions hit the Russian economy hard. And tuberculosis has made a dramatic comeback in the United Kingdom, seemingly catching health experts off guard. That's all we have for you now. Join us again tomorrow for the news at 8. Till then, I am your presenter, FATOUMATA.